Alan, it's time for our spoiler review of Disney's Snow White. I think we all know the story. We don't need to go over that again. Evil queen, virtuous Snow White. She's fair, the fairest of them all. There's a poison apple and a prancing prince, except he's not prancing. He's a prancing bandit. So, but we need to talk about Dopey.
Who yes, Dopey, played by Conan O'Brien.
So, like, I'm trying to do this so that Lori can get a clean clip of our spoiler review.
Yes, I know. And I find this very funny.
I don't think it's funny, okay? We started the show with some technical issues. We fixed the issues. Can we focus and actually do this review now?
Yeah.
And I want to thank the 2,249 people watching live who haven't left yet. So let's start this over again. I feel like when we do the show, this is like the first time you're doing a show. And I'm perfectly capable of looking something up, and I can do two things at once.
Yeah, you are great.
So go please, Alan, if you would take the lead and tell me let's talk about Snow White.
All right. Well, we don't need to talk about the story at all. We've talked about it before, but I think you want to talk about the ending. And how Snow White was finally able to defeat the evil queen. And the way Snow White was able to do that was similar to the way Sam Wilson was able to defeat the Red Hulk. She defeated the queen with empathy. At the very end, all the soldiers have weapons pointed at her. There's spears and knives. And then Snow White looks over and says, "Chad, you used to be a farmer. I remember you grew so much food for us. You were such a vital part of this community. And you, Tyrone, you were you ran the bakery, and your wife helped you with it. And Blaine, I lost my virginity to you." And
no, she didn't say that.
But it's kind of the new way of how you tell stories, how you tell fairy tales, because it's no longer about rugged men fighting evil men. It's about empathy and sympathy, and that's how Snow White, the fairest of them all, is able to finally defeat the queen and send her to hell.
She literally talks to her minion soldiers and reminds them of their previous life before the evil queen, and they choose to not be evil minion soldiers. That's awful. The prancing prince is not a prince. He's a bandit, and yes, he does kiss Snow White, which brings her back to life. I mean, I always preferred when they put her in the coffin. You're like, that's
the glass coffin, yeah.
A glass coffin, her beauty. They didn't not want to, cover her beauty. She's in a glass coffin, and the prince brings her to life. In this, it's a bandit of ambiguous sexual nature because he clearly was into musical theater.
No, the thing about that is you got the sense that the kiss was an unnecessary evil in the minds of the writers and the storytellers and the
yes,
that they had to have it in there, and they found the worst way to go about doing it because let me set the picture here. So Snow White lays dead on the ground. The handsome bandit comes along, sees her, and kisses her, and she awakens. And what did she say? "The queen killed my father."
Yes.
So there's a Princess Problem song. This is the what I'm getting to here is this relationship between the bandit and Snow White, the moment she says the queen killed my father, she just friend zoned poor Jonathan, and the two of them will never get married and live happily ever after.
Yeah, it's almost like the writers and Disney resisted the classic elements of the story, and they sort of begrudgingly checked the list off. Well, we got dwarves, we've got the bandits, and we've got the kiss, we've got the evil queen, we've got the mirror. Everything is checked off in what should be in a Snow White movie, but nothing feels organic, and it's very weightless. So it just doesn't, it really leaves you kind of cold, and it's so this is corporate filmmaking is what this is. It's corporate filmmaking in the end.
Yeah, but to me, it's also, I mean, I have to believe that there's a conspiracy in Hollywood that says children don't deserve romance.
Yes.
And they intentionally keep it out. And it's not like children are saying, ugh, kissing, blah. Because deep down, kids love that. As much as they gag at their parents doing it, they love that. This is Hollywood saying kids don't deserve romance, and we're not going to give it to them. And when we do, we're going to give it in the most sterile way possible.
Yeah, what do young girls and even boys, there's nothing for boys in this movie. I mean, they say that like, well, these movies, they're made for young girls, princesses, whatnot. I'm male. I like these Disney movies. There was always some element of it that a boy could find to like. A man could like. The male, we like different things, right? As men and women. So,
no, but I disagree. I think there is something for boys. It's this message
in
that
this version,
in this version for boys, the message is one day you will find a woman who will boss you around for the rest of your life.
Oh, yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Oh my God, Alan, I forgive you for everything. Oh my God. Oh,
yeah. Well,
you know what I found?
Marriage, kids.
You know what I found? I found a fact on the internet that was wrong. Do you believe that, Alan?
Yeah, you did. Conan O'Brien. How the hell did you think that was Conan O'Brien?
Because I saw it online.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just
let's talk about the dwarf.
Let's talk about it.
That dopey thing is dope. Dopey.
It's played by Andrew Barth Feldman, who is the kid in No Hard Feelings that needed to lose his virginity and bad. That was Dopey. And he speaks. And when he spoke, you mentioned that the audience was my daughter.
To be clear, packed screening, with fans, critics, fans, and they gasped. I heard someone say no. I think it might have been your daughter. Yeah. And people were, you could tell this was a bad choice, having Dopey speak, who has never spoken. He's like the Harpo Marx of the dwarves, right?
Yeah.
No one knows Harpo Marx. Do you? You had a horn? Had a little horn? Anyways, that's how he spoke. But Dopey was always like the soul,
the mute one.
Yeah. The mute one.
Yeah, what made him special was the fact that he didn't talk and that he was endurable and lovable. In here, he's a bullied dwarf. For hundreds of years, the other dwarves had been bullying him, making him so that he didn't want to talk anymore.
Right.
So when Dopey finally speaks, this is what my daughter said audibly, which I'm pretty sure the entire theater heard. But she said, the first time it was no. The second time he spoke, it was, please make this stop. And then the third time she just said, this is wrong. And she just walked in to remind me of that. So, the whole Dopey thing, making him feel this sympathetic character. I mean, again, this is a full-on remake of Snow White. And again, it all serves to show that Walt Disney was wrong. And that we need to make this Walt Disney story better and for modern times. And so instead of creating a lovable character, Dopey, who is mute, no, he's a bullied child who doesn't want to speak anymore because of the bad people around him.
What makes this is the bottom line. We'll go to your comments.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this whole thing doesn't work is this isn't about telling an organic classic story that will endure for generations, which, I mean, look, I like movies that kind of feel dated in the sense that they have a life. They're rooted in core values. And there might be aspects that are dated, haircuts, wardrobe, whatever, things about classic films. The thing that makes this so bad, it's not about telling a good story. It's about correcting current day attitudes about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it in such a way as to make the classic film wrong for having done it in the first place. It's offensive to fans of Walt Disney. It's offensive to the legacy of not just the company, but the man. And I'm just aghast that, and there have been, everyone points out the Cinderella remake by Kenneth
Branagh.
Yeah. You just, all you got to do is honor it. You can update a few things here, but you don't make the updates make it wrong. And that's what this movie does by replacing the dwarves with magical short creatures. Is just, it's the height of listening to the very vocal audience that cares about this stuff, and those people do not represent the majority. Final thoughts, Alan. We'll go to comments.
Let me give you my favorite moment of the movie. So Jonathan,
there is one.
Okay. So Jonathan and the huntsman, they are chained in the dungeons. They're chained to the dungeon wall, and Jonathan is yanking on that chain. I got to get out of here and save Snow White. And the huntsman sits there going, there's no point. You know, the queen has won. And then Jonathan inspires the huntsman and says, no, we can aspire for a better life, a more truthful life. So help me get out of these chains. And so what do? How do they get out of it? Well, apparently they're both chained to the same loop. And so if they both pull on it together, it comes out. So
if we work together,
it was the power of two.
No,
out of the dungeon.
Oh my God!
This is indicative of the storytelling throughout the entire thing. Oh, tie Jonathan up to the gates as an example. Oh, they tie him to the gates, and then Snow White comes up and unties him so that he can go away. I mean, that's this movie. This is why the worst crime of this movie is the filmmakers think we're morons. They think adults are morons, and worse, they think children are morons. So because they can't logically work their way out of this. It's time to the gate, and then she unties him. That's how it worked. You know, the power of one and the power of two. There you go. We are morons in their eyes. Disney. Today, Disney is a far cry from when Walt was running the company and telling stories the right way.